Okay. Hey, house guests! Welcome to today's Big Brother 21 updates and spoilers. Woo! Our house guest of the day is John Preeb. That's okay. John, thank you so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we really, really do appreciate it. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, like John, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. All right, so, oh, Lord, this is going to be a lot. I told you guys yesterday the feeds were really popping off. It was a true Waffle Wednesday yesterday. So in true Waffle Wednesday fashion, there was a flip in the air. And a lot of times there will be all this craziness on Wednesday and then nothing comes of it. But this time, oh, okay. So Christie was working her magic using her little powers. Remember when Nick was like making fun of her for her little powers? I think he's gonna regret that. But she needs 4 votes to stay this week, or 3 plus Jackson breaking the tie in her favor. So at this point, it looks like she has Jess, right? Jess is very pro Christie. Holly was leaning towards keeping Christie, and Cliff said that he would vote to keep her if Jackson and Holly were on board. So it looks like it's possible here. However, it seems like Tommy was ready to cut Christie loose. He was not happy about her big blow up with Nick. He felt like she looked like a really emotional player. And all season, he's been like preventing blow ups and like making that not happen. It was very Derek, Big Brother 16, where every time somebody would want to pop off, Derek was like, do we really need to be doing that? Do we really? Which is really boring for us viewers, but I could see like why you would want to prevent the blow-ups from happening. But anyway, Tommy was telling Christie, you really messed up. You should not have changed your target to Nick. You should have kept it as Holly and Jackson. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to stay now. So I think Tommy is also really paranoid about the message from the outside world the other day, about him and Christie knowing each other, which is funny because it doesn't seem like anybody else cares about it. But Tommy is the only one that I hear mentioning it. He's very paranoid about it. And I feel like he just wants to get rid of that whole situation and not have to deal with the Christie baggage anymore. So, I also mentioned at the end of yesterday's spoiler that even Jackson is considering flipping at this point. So let's expand on that a bit, because this is where it gets really interesting. So Holly has been putting in work for Christie. Holly reports back to Jackson that Sis is saying she would put up Nick if she won HOH. Nick? Really? So she feels like Sis is just saying that because that's Christie's campaign. So Sis is trying to match that. They agree. There's no way that she would actually do that. It's very reminiscent of last week when Kat was telling people that she would put Jackson up on the block, but then she was also going back to Jackson and saying, look, I'm telling people that I would put you up, but I wouldn't. So they feel like it's that happening all over again, but with Sis and Nick. So Holly says, okay, Nick is the biggest threat to my game. If Christie stays, yes, she is a big threat, and she's going to be hard to get out later, but Christie will be targeting Nick. Nick will have 2 targets in Christie and Jess. Not me. So she says if Sis stays, she could potentially be persuaded by somebody like Nick to put Holly up on the block. And she feels like Nick would also put her up on the block against Jess. And she feels like Tommy is under Nick's spell. So he's got like all these people working for him. So she's realizing more and more that Christie could be the way to go for them. So Holly says, I want to make a move that's going to benefit both of our games. So she also says that Sis keeps mentioning that she wants to work with Holly and Tommy moving forward, but she never includes Jackson in that. And Holly doesn't feel good about that because she wants to work with Jackson. She doesn't want to get rid of him right now, or probably like ever. So anyway, Christie was then campaigning to Jackson, and she's talking about Nick and his army. We've heard this over and over and over again. You know, Nick has Sis, Nicole, and Tommy, And Christie says, Sis is loyal to Nick. I am not. And she says, I'm not campaigning against Sis, but Sis is loyal to Nick. So she also implies that Sis would target Jackson and or Holly if she won HOH, because Sis has been saying, like, I'm not going after Nick, not going after Tommy, not going after whatever, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't mention that she's not going after Jackson and Holly. So by process of elimination, it looks like we know who her targets are. So then Jackson says to Christie, all right, I'm going to tell you something. Like, this doesn't leave the room, but Sis has been saying that she wants to work with Holly and Tommy, but not me. And she also hasn't told me that she wouldn't put me up on the block. So her campaigning really not doing anything for Jackson. He is not feeling it. He's not hearing what he needs to hear to keep her. So Christie, however, is making it known. She's making it very clear that she is targeting Nick, and then she says Nicole would be next after that, not Holly and Jackson. Making it very clear, I am not targeting you or Holly. So she also tells Jackson, Cliff told me he's on board to keep me if you and Holly are as well. He feels comfortable enough to then vote to keep me. So she also mentions that Tommy would probably vote to keep her if the votes are there. Can you imagine if he didn't? Oh my god, that would be a real twist of events. If she got the votes to stay and Tommy was not one of them, holy crap. So Jackson says he really respects the way that Christie has handled being on the block this week, especially compared to Sis, because Sis took things very personally. So Jackson says, I've been waiting for this Christie for 8 weeks. This Christie that he feels like he can really trust and play with and move forward with. So he says, if you're guaranteeing that you're gonna be on my side, that changes everything for me. So then Christie is calling Jackson a genius for getting her to now be his weapon. Stroke that ego. Woo! So I mean, because they kept talking about how Jackson has been super threatened by all of Christie's skills, like her ability in competitions and her way with her words and things like that. And he's saying, like, yeah, I've been really threatened by that. But if I had that on my side, that could be great. So eventually Holly joins them, and Christie is telling them, I'll be able to win mental competitions for you guys, because let's face it, that's not their strong suit. They've both talked over and over again about how they've both had like a lot of concussions in their lives. So they don't have the best memories. But Christie says, I could win those competitions for you. I could even help you guys study so that you'll be better prepared for them. And then she's saying, I'll be totally cool with taking 4th or 5th place. That's always like the weirdest campaign to me, because why would anyone actually believe that? Like, obviously, if you were lucky enough to make it to that point, you wouldn't just be like, okay, deuces, I'm out of here. I said that I would be fine going home now. No, they're going to fight to stay no matter what. But people still seem to bring it up every season. So she's saying, yeah, I'll be fine with going out in 4th or 5th place, and she would be honored to get to that point with the two of them, Tommy and Cliff. She thinks that would be great, and they're like, yeah, that's great. So Jackson is saying he feels like Christie has so much more to offer them than Sis. Sis does not win competitions, and as a matter of fact, Sis might not even be on their side if she stays. She might target them. And then on the flip side, no one will be targeting Sis if she stays. I don't know that anyone would want to waste an HOH going after Sis, which is funny because Jackson would waste his HOH this week taking out Sis. But anyway, it's really funny. So yeah, he's worried that nobody is going to go after her and she's going to skate to the end. And a lot of people are saying they do not want Sis to make it super far because they just feel like she hasn't done anything. She doesn't deserve to make it that far, and they would be really pissed about it. So after this whole marathon chat with Christie, Holly and Jackson are chatting alone, and Holly is telling him all about Sis's campaign because Sis was campaigning to Holly while Jackson was talking to Christie. And she just doesn't believe that Sis would really target Nick. There's no way. They're not falling for that. She does say that she respects that Sis still wants to be loyal to her and Tommy, but she's not totally comfortable with working with them because Sis referred to Tommy as her person. So she's like, wow, so I'm automatically number 3 in that group? She doesn't want that. She does not want to go to the end with them to get 3rd place. So she says, if Sis did better than me in this game, I would forfeit everything. Ah! So she says, I'm not going to let Sis just float past me right to the end. So there it is. Again, nobody wants Sis to make it far. So Holly says, I even spelled it out to Sis, and I asked her if she would want you, Jackson, to be like a 4th for them and Tommy. So it would be like Holly, Tommy, and Sis all together in a 3, and then just like Jackson, they cut him at 4, and Sis said no. Oh, so she wants him out soon. Ooh. She couldn't even like lie about it. So Holly's telling Jackson, I trust you the most. So that's not okay with me. Duh. Okay, but she says the more that she's been thinking about it, the more she feels like it makes sense to keep Christie. And they feel like they trust Christie way more than Sis. And again, they feel that Christie has a lot more to offer them than Sis does. So Holly says if Christie can get Cliff and Jess's votes, she wants to keep her. So then Cliff was talking to Holly and Jackson in the HOH room. And it looks like Christie's campaign is really working because Jackson says Sis is a number for Nick, and Nick is not going to choose anyone else over Sis, Tommy, or Nicole. So like, why are we going to work with them? And he's got all 3 of those people wrapped around his finger. So then Jackson is talking about Christie's like threatening abilities, like being good at competitions, being good at talking to people, blah, blah, blah. All of that becoming assets for them. He feels like he can trust Christie now because she's backed into a corner. She doesn't have Jack anymore. She'd be losing Sis. She doesn't feel like she has the same relationship with Tommy anymore. That's what she's telling him anyway. It does seem like it's changed though. It really does. So yeah, she has no other option at this point. So on the other hand, again, Sis doesn't have anything to offer them. So Jackson says, if it comes down to a tie, as of right now, I would break that tie in Christie's favor and evict Sis. So Cliff says, all right, if you guys want me to vote that way, then I'm on board. I'll do it. You know, I said I was going to vote how you guys wanted. Let's go. So they agree. It's not set in stone yet. They do still want to talk to Jess and Nicole, see where they're at. Because if they don't have, like, Jess's vote, this is not going to happen. They could still move forward without Nicole's vote. And they're almost thinking, like, that could be a good thing because then there will be more votes on the other side and it would be easier for Christie to put people up if she won HOH. But Cliff does not want Nicole going up. So Cliff says, I think I'll be able to get Nicole to vote with us if I ask her and I tell her how I'm voting. So Cliff says he would love to go to the Final Four with the 2 of them and Nicole. And Jackson and Holly agree. They're like, that's great. We love it. Yeah. So then Holly's curious, why is Nicole so loyal to Nick? It doesn't really make sense because he has burned her in the past. He's one of the only people that's burned her. He's dragged her through the coals, and she says, we saved her. You know, we voted to keep her. Sorry, Cliff. He's like, it's okay. You know, that's in the past now. But Holly's wondering, do Nicole and Nick, like, know each other or something? Like, where is this loyalty coming from? And Cliff is like, I don't know. Maybe they just have fun together, like, on a personal level. I don't know. But he feels like, that being said, if it came down to it, Nicole would be the first one to jump ship from the Tommy, Sis, and Nick group. Okay. So, which isn't really a group. It's really Tommy, Sis, and Nick, and then Nicole is just close to Nick, but everybody's talking about them like they're four now ever since the blow up. So then they're talking about Sis and how she was asking everybody to give her a heads up if she, if things flipped and she was going because she doesn't want to be blindsided. They don't think it's a good idea to tell her about the vote ahead of time because she might start freaking out and blowing stuff up. Like maybe they can tell her right before, but they don't want to tell her too soon. So then, again, they're saying they still have to talk to Jess and Nicole before they solidify things, and they think that it could be good to have Nick and Tommy on the wrong side of the vote because that's, again, two easy nominations for Christie to make. Can you imagine? Oh my God, if Christie had to put up Tommy, that'd be hilarious. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I could see Tommy turning his back on Christie, but I don't know that she would do that to him. She seems a lot more into making it to the end with Tommy, whereas I feel like Tommy would cut Christie. Okay, so then Christie pulls Nick aside to chat in the Target bedroom. She's not really campaigning to him for obvious reasons, but, she's trying to make amends here. So guess what? Christie's on the verge of tears, of course. She's all like, I love you. She apologizes for the blow up, and she says that she was frustrated about what a great position he's in the game, and she's not one of the people that he is protecting. So she's just angry, well, not angry, but frustrated. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments. I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me. I don't know why. Some people are having a problem with it, but it seems like everybody else is okay. But anyway, what was I saying? She's frustrated because she feels like Nick, she said this over and over again, but she feels like Nick is just coasting along, throwing competitions and getting other people to target each other. So she says going against him was her only angle to campaign this week. She didn't want to campaign against Sis. That's her, one of her best friends in the house. So she felt like this was her only option. So then Nick says he just feels bad for Sis, Tommy, and Nicole now because people think that they're in a 4-person alliance and they're not. And guess what? Like I said, it's true. They're not. It's more Tommy, Sis, and Nick together, and then Nicole is just kind of with Nick. So it's like a 3+1 situation. So Christie's saying, I wasn't trying to attack you personally with the blow up. I was trying to kind of just force your hand, force you to show your cards, make you fight for HOHs. And Nick is just like, I haven't been throwing HOH comps. Ah! So then he didn't freak out like that, but in his mind. Okay. So Nick says, if Christie stays, she still wouldn't be his target. He has other people to go after. Let's see if he still feels that way when he realizes that Christie could actually be staying. Yeah. But Christie lets him know, sorry, dude, if I stay, I am still going to have to put you up on the block because it would look pretty dumb if I didn't at this point after everything that I've said about you. And he's like, yeah, I get it, whatever, it's cool. Again, he doesn't realize that she could actually be staying. Okay, meanwhile, Nicole is talking to Holly, and Nicole says she is disgusted with the whole blow up the other day. She's not happy because now she's being associated with Nick, and she's also being associated with Nick, Sis, and Tommy as a 4, and she says that is not the case. So everybody in that non-existent 4 is now telling everybody, I'm not in a 4. We're not in a 4. It's not a 4. So they all have to defend themselves now. So Nicole says, I want to make it clear, I am playing as an individual. She says, when I go in to vote, I don't say to Julie, Nick told me to vote to evict, blah, blah, blah. She says, I just say, I vote to evict blank. Okay. So then Jackson joins them, and Nicole's talking more about being an individual. She's not with Nick. And then they talk about this week's vote. So Nicole is like, can I ask you guys something? why am I always in the middle every week? Why is it always the two sides coming to me like this? I don't get it. So Jackson says, well, you do tend to give off mixed signals. They were really confused about Nicole going back to Nick and Bella after they burned her, and everybody else voted to keep her. So they feel like, it comes off a little bit wishy-washy. It's a little bit confusing. So Nicole says she doesn't want to be wishy-washy. So Jackson tells her, this is a great week for you to pick a side. That strategy worked for a while, kind of not really committing to a certain group, but now could be the time for you to pick a side. So Jackson and Holly both say that they want to work with her. They'd really appreciate her vote this week. And then they kind of did this weird dance. Not like an actual dance, but Nicole kept saying that she wasn't sure if she wanted to know at that time which direction Jackson was leaning in, because she knew that people were going to be coming to her asking her about the vote, and she didn't want to have to lie about it. So they were saying, like, if you want to wait until the last minute, that's fine, then you don't have to lie to people. But then finally Nicole's like, okay, I'm ready, just tell me what you want. So Jackson finally says if it's a tie, he wants to vote to evict Sis. And Nicole says, I kind of got the feeling that that's what you were thinking. She says it makes sense. But before they could talk about it more, Tommy shows up, blah, and breaks up the conversation. Okay, so then for some reason, a little while later, everyone was eating cereal in the HOH room. Christie was like, Nick and I messed up Taco Tuesday, so we're gonna have Cereal Wednesday. Everyone knows it's Waffle Wednesday. Are you kidding me? So then things calmed down for a little bit, and then Big Brother spiced it up again. Oh my god. So this voice came over the loudspeaker. It wasn't somebody claiming that Tommy and Christie know each other. This was BB sanctioned. So the voice welcomed the house guests to the BB Birdwatching audio tour. Damn, somebody in production either really loves birds this season or really hates Nicole. There have been so many bird-centric things. Oh my goodness. So the voice tells them, pay close attention to the names and calls of the birds that you're about to hear, because you never know when it might come in handy. I don't know, maybe like during the HOH competition? I don't know. But they realize they're going to be up all night because they're going to be playing these bird noises, and they need to memorize these and study them. So it was just funny how Jackson kept saying, like, everybody's got to pay attention to this because we don't know what this could be for. It could be for HOH. It could be for HOH in 2 or 3 weeks. It could be for a battle back, a veto. We don't know. Come on, dude. It's for the next freaking HOH competition. What do you think this is? Like Big Brother Canada where they do something crazy like that? So anyway, back to game talk. Cliff and Nicole check in with each other, and Nicole's a bit confused. Okay, first of all, she thinks, like, yeah, I'm down with voting for Christie to stay. We can make that work. Sure. But she's confused because she's hearing about 2 different possible final 5s that Christie is potentially pitching. So she hears one about Nicole, Cliff, Christie, Jackson, and Holly. But then Tommy tells her that Christie was pitching Christie, Tommy, Jackson, Holly, and Jess. So Nicole's like, which one is real? Because she also heard that Christie would put up Nick and Nicole if she won HOH, which is something that she said. So she's not really sure what Christie is planning. She would feel kind of stupid if she voted for Christie to stay and then Christie put her up on the block. She wouldn't feel good about that. I wouldn't either. So Cliff is like, okay, well, obviously we need to talk to Christie and Tommy, figure out what's really going on here, because he doesn't want to screw Nicole over. So, again, Nicole is saying she's down to keep Christie because that's where it seems the majority is going, but she wants to make sure that she would not be going up. So Nicole is also saying that she doesn't want to blindside Sis. She wants to tell her what's happening before the vote. And she wants to tell Christie, of course. I think it makes a lot of sense to tell the person that you're voting to keep that you're voting to keep them because you want them to know that and appreciate it. But then she's also wondering, should we tell Tommy and Nick too? No thanks. Ugh. So Cliff says we should just sit on it for now. We will talk to some other people and then we'll reconvene and we'll figure this out. Okay, so then Jackson is talking to Jess in the HOH room because again, remember they want to confirm with Jess that she will be voting to keep Christie. So he tells her that he wants Sis out. He makes all of his same points that we've heard a million times about why Christie is better to keep than Sis. And Jess is like, yeah, cool. She's on board. I think she was leaning towards keeping Christie anyway because she has a much better relationship with Christie than with Sis. So, and she cannot stand Nick. So obviously she's going to want to keep Christie, who says that she's going to target Nick. So she says, yeah, Jackson, I'm going to vote however you want me to. Okay. So then Cliff and Christie are chatting in the bathroom area. And Cliff is asking her, who would you want to be in the final 5 with you? Because he knows that she mentioned to Jackson and Holly that she would be cool with going out in like 5th or 4th place or whatever. So who are the 5 that she was envisioning? So she's like, okay, well, the 2 of us, Jackson and Holly, and Jess. So then she starts crying because she thought that she was super close to Tommy, but now she's not even sure that she's going to have his vote. Damn! Oh my god. Can you even imagine? So Cliff reveals, I would prefer to go further in the game with Nicole than with Jess. So Cliff is asking Christie, what would you do if a vote came down to Jess versus Nicole? So Christie says, well, Jess has had my back. However, if Nicole voted to keep me, that would speak volumes to me because Nicole is supposed to be super close to Nick, and if she votes to keep me, she's basically going against him. So that would really prove a lot to me. That would be a big deal. So she doesn't say who she would vote to keep or vote out, but she does say that it would really prove a lot to her. Okay, that's not going to be a good enough answer, so Cliff will be back later with more. Okay, so a few quick things here. Nick apologizes to Nicole for putting her in a bad position because now, again, people think that they're in a 4 with Tommy and Sis, and that's not the case. And then Nicole lets Nick know that Jackson said if he has to break a tie, he's voting out Sis. Oh my god, Cliff said don't tell him yet. But Nick is like, oh, okay. He says if it's gonna be a tie anyway and Sis is gonna go, Nicole should probably flip her vote too. You know, save your game. He doesn't want her to get screwed over. So, yeah, he's telling her if that's what's gonna happen, you should probably vote Sis out. But he says he is not gonna do that. He's gonna vote for Sis to stay no matter what. Okay, so then Nick tells Nicole and Cliff that Christie said if she stays and wins HOH, she's going to put up Nick and Nicole, and that Cliff would probably be the replacement nominee if necessary. So he's still trying to, be like, are you sure you want to keep Christie around? Are you sure that's the best move for your game? So then that's going to come up again later. But in other news, Christie lets Tommy know that the votes are flipping. It just would have been so funny if he was blindsided and he did not vote for Christie to stay. That would have been hilarious. But I have a question for you guys. Do you think that Tommy is secretly disappointed that Christie is getting these votes? Because I really do feel like he was thinking, oh, yes, this is my chance to get rid of Christie, and it's not going to be my fault. I'm going to get away with it. I'm going to have a for sure vote in the jury house waiting for me when I make it to the final 2. Everybody's saying yes, thank you. And, he was going to be able to get rid of that Christie baggage and not have to worry about it anymore. And now he's like, great. That was supposed to be like a new start for him, and now it's looking like she could be sticking around. So I think he's disappointed. So anyway, Sis finally finds out that she might be in trouble. She doesn't get like a guarantee. She doesn't find out for sure what's happening, but she finds out like, whoa, this might not be as set as I initially thought it was. So she was talking to Jackson, and Jackson lets her know everyone's kind of torn with their vote right now because they love you and Christie both so much. So Sis is like, okay, so what would you do if it's a tie? Would you vote to keep me? And he says, I still have to see where other people's heads are at. So Sis says that really scares her, because that's not what he was saying earlier in the week. You know, he was acting like Christie was definitely the target, she's definitely going, and now something changed. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So Sis starts crying, and she's like, you told me that I was gonna be a pawn. She doesn't understand why Jackson would want to keep Christie around to take out Nick when he won the veto, and he could have just changed the nominations and taken out Nick himself. Like, it's not making sense to her. So Jackson says, I never said that I want to go after Nick. And Sis is asking him, okay, well, then why else would you want to keep your target then? You said that Christie was your target, so, like, it's not making sense. And Jackson says, I don't have to answer that. You know, I don't owe anybody an explanation right now. So then Sis says, Jackson, I've had your back this whole entire time, and I still would if I stay. No. So it's just tears, tears, tears. She's crying, blah, blah, blah. Remember when Sis told Christie that she should campaign and it wouldn't be that big of a deal if Sis was evicted and it's fine? I don't think she feels that way anymore. So anyway, Cliff talks to Christie again, and Cliff is telling her, okay, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Nicole and I are a lot tighter than a lot of other people think. He says, I cannot have Nicole going up on the block if Christie wins HOH. I can't do it. So Christie's like, okay, well, if Nicole votes to keep me, then I won't put her up. I'm not going to do that to her. She says she won't do it. She'll pay her back by not nominating her. So Cliff is like, I'm not, the type to try and make demands, but I don't want her to be in a situation where she votes to keep you and then she's up on the block. She says he would feel like a total a-hole. So Christie's like, no, I totally respect that. It's like a package deal thing. It's all good. Like, I will not put her up if she votes to keep me. And I think she's genuine about that. But, like, who the heck would she put up? We find out in a later conversation, she feels like she'd have to put Jess up on the block next to Nick because technically Jess did not ask her for anything in return for her votes. So she's got deals with, like, everybody else. She'd have to put up Jess. But then my question is, what would happen if somebody won the veto and used it? Who's she gonna go after then? Ugh. So anyway, Cliff talked about the same thing with Jackson, how he doesn't want Nicole going up on the block if she does, in fact, vote to keep Christie, because he says, like, yeah, Nicole really wants to do this. She wants to work with us. And Jackson confirms that he and Holly want to work with them too. And they would not let Nicole go if she was up on the block next to Nick. There's no way that they would keep Nick over her. Okay. So then the house guests were up late listening to all the bird sounds and studying and blah, blah, blah. And then Big Brother went through all of the sounds again at 6 a.m. this morning. And I gotta say, there's a lot to remember. I saw that Nick and Tommy were making up, like, little movements and stuff to go with the sounds. I feel like they have a pretty good grasp on it, but, like, I don't want one of them to win HOH. Blah. Okay. So then, today, Jackson and Holly confirm with Christie that they are keeping her. Because before it was kind of like, we want to keep you, but they weren't giving her a definite answer, and now they are. Jackson also told Nick if it's a tie, he will be voting out Sis, and Nick says okay. He's still planning on voting out Christie because he's not going to let Sis go out like that. And then, oh my god, after the lockdown, Sis is asking Nick, how's it looking? Am I good? And Nick is like, so he lets her know that she's going. And Sis starts throwing this childlike tantrum of epic proportions. She starts crying. She says, I effing hate everyone in this house. And then Nick is explaining to her Jackson's reasoning. Sis didn't tell him what he wanted to hear. She wasn't telling Jackson that she wanted to work with him. She wasn't telling Jackson that she wasn't going to put him up on the block. And then there was the whole, her connection to Nick. So there were a lot of things here that were making Jackson want to get rid of Sis. So then Nick starts leading her to believe as well that Christie told Jackson all these things that she was saying about Jackson. Oh, which isn't really true. Because Sis has said a lot of shit about Jackson, right? But Christie was not sharing those things. She did say, like, oh, I think that Sis would target you, but she wasn't saying all of the nasty stuff that she could have been. So then Holly and Tommy were also trying to comfort Sis, and Sis is like, I hate Jackson. I effing hate him. I've always had his back. What? No, you have not. But she says she can't wait to see him walk into jury next. He's effing walking in right after me. And she says, literally so annoying. I need a tally of all the times that she said literally today during her freak out. It was a lot. So then Christie was next to talk to Sis. They started in like the dining room area, but then they migrated to one of the bedrooms. So Sis says, congratulations, you're staying. And you can't even go after him because you promised him effing deals. So then Christie's like, are you mad at me? And Sis says, no, it's just annoying. So Sis is asking Christie, did you tell Jackson things that I said about him? And Christie says, no, because I've said everything about him that you have. I'm not going to do that. So she tells her, I had to make a deal with Jackson and Holly. That was my last resort. That was my only chance to stay. I didn't want to campaign against you up on the block, so I had to do that blow up against Nick. I'm sorry, but like, what was she supposed to do? Just lay over and lay down and die? Lay over. It was a mix of lay down and roll over. But anyway, Christie is telling Sis, you should channel your frustration toward Nick or Jackson. Not me, because I still want your jury vote. So Sis says she literally understands why America hates Jackson. Oh, okay. So then, oh my god, Jackson comes in and Sis tells him, get out of my effing face, I literally effing hate you! And it was very like Jamae in Summer Heights High when the 7th grader breaks up with, with her. Oh my god! So Sis is pissed because she says that Jackson promised her that she was a pawn, and Jackson starts raising his voice. He's like, I never promised you that. He claims that he said he didn't want her to go, but he says, I never said that you were the pawn this week. And he says, this is a game, and I don't effing hate you, even if you effing hate me. So then Jackson left the room for a few minutes. Sis is still like, Jackson comes back a few minutes later, and he's telling her, I'm sorry that you think that I made the wrong decision, and I'm sorry if you think that somebody else should have been up on the block instead of you. And he says, I had to do what's best for my own game. Sorry. And then they go back and forth about whether or not he told her that she's a pawn. Honestly, I don't think he ever used the word pawn, but I'm not sure on that. So I don't know. But everyone else was using the word pawn. Everybody else was like, sis, you're just a pawn next to Christie. But I don't think that Jackson ever said that to her. I mean, I could be wrong. Again, I don't know. But I feel like no. So then Sis is blaming Jackson, telling him, I'm in this position because of you. And Jackson's like, you need to own things in this game and in life. You know, take some responsibility. So Sis says, I've never done anything to you for me to go up on the block. And Jackson says, look, I gave you the chance to win the power of veto. I gave you the chance to rally the votes for yourself. And Sis says, I had them until you decided to go against me. Ah! So, yeah, she's freaking out. And after that kind of fizzles out, Christie is bringing it back to Nick. You need to be mad at Nick. Nick did this. Woo! Okay, so yeah. Sis should be going by a vote of 5-1. It'll be really interesting to hear what her eviction speech is this week. I don't know, but yeah. That's where we're at. So we got I don't know, 20 minutes until the live episode. Should be fun. Who do you guys want to win HOH? I don't even know what's going to happen next week. A lot is going to depend on who wins this HOH competition. I'm excited though. Honestly, like, I feel like Christie has played a masterful game this week. Like, she was gone at the beginning of the week, and for her to turn it around and get the votes to stay, that is wild. Like, am I rooting for Christie at this point? I don't know. She's definitely someone I would not feel bad about winning, because that was crazy. That was insane. It's wild. But let me know how you guys feel about Christie in the comments. Let me know how you feel about all this and who you're rooting for to win HOH. Thank you for joining me for today's live spoilers, updates and spoilers. Good times as always. And I'll see you guys for the recap later tonight. So until next time, much love. Oh, there we go.